Welcome to Lesson 1 in Unit 24, Particle Picnic. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, what types of matter are involved in baking a cake? In this lesson, students are introduced to the anchoring phenomenon. They begin to ask questions and investigate different types of matter used in cooking. Students figure out that matter has different properties that can be observed and measured. Physical properties include color, texture, state of matter, solubility, conductivity, and magnetism. Students make connections to the storyline by identifying the different properties of matter used in making a cake. There are several opportunities for ELA and social studies cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 24 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 4 days to complete. You'll begin the unit and the Lesson 1 Engage by introducing the anchoring phenomenon. You'll read the Science Community Picnic Letter, where the class is responsible for providing cake and lemonade for a community picnic. You'll need to explain how these foods are made and what happens to the ingredients as they're prepared. Be sure to see the opportunity to attend to equity. Students will find the anchoring phenomenon more compelling if they can connect to it personally. If you want to change the phenomenon for your context, keep in mind the following questions. Is it going to be relevant to your students' lives and/or particularly engaging to them? Is it going to motivate students to want to explain that matter is made of particles too small to be seen? How matter changes when heating, cooling, or mixing substances? How mixtures or solutions can be separated by their physical properties? Or that the total weight of matter is conserved when a change occurs. You'll then ask students about their experiences with cake and lemonade, and show them pictures and videos of the cake baking process. You'll ask students about what they think about cake ingredients and what they think happens when the ingredients are mixed together, and what they notice about cake as it is baking. You'll allow students to turn and talk, then share a few answers with the whole class. You'll record student ideas on a chart so they can revisit and revise their ideas later. As students are sharing their observations and questions, you'll provide them with the sentence stem, "Now I'm wondering about," to model how we can use observations to develop questions. Once students have their questions, you will guide them in creating categories for their questions on the driving question board using the steps provided in the teacher guide. You'll tell students that they are going to investigate their questions to help them learn more about using and changing matter to make a meal for a picnic. Here are examples of driving question boards from other K-5 units. They depict the students' questions in categories, some along with a drawn model from the unit. Some driving question boards are simple lists of questions or groups of sticky notes posted on chart paper. Teachers and students can manipulate and move around questions and label categories together. You'll then ask students about matter and mass and introduce the States of Matter card activity. You'll post and discuss the matter and mass vocabulary cards. You'll then put students in groups and hand out the States of Matter cards. You'll ask each group to sort the cards into solids, liquids, or gases. You can post and discuss the solid, liquid, and gas vocabulary cards. You'll then ask students about their understanding of volume and discuss the states of matter and volume vocabulary cards. For the Explore portion, you'll ask students if there are properties of matter they know and how they might observe or measure these properties. During the discussion, you can post and talk about the property vocabulary card. You'll then place students into groups and pass out the bags of materials and cups with water for students to investigate properties of materials. You can post the solubility, magnetism, and conductivity vocabulary cards. As you post the vocabulary cards, you can use the materials to demonstrate to students how to observe and measure each of these properties. You'll have students work with their group to record observations about the properties of each of these samples of matter on the Properties of Matter student journal page. In the Explain portion of the lesson, students will engage in a class discussion. You'll invite them to gather and analyze their observations around their Properties of Matter investigation. You'll use the provided questions to guide the discussion around what types of matter are involved in baking a cake. The goal of this class discussion is to have students analyze the different categories to identify the properties of matter. You will use the discussion to create the Lesson 1 summary chart. From the discussion, students will be able to talk over their observations of the investigation. They'll continue the discussion and build a model in the Elaborate portion. During the discussion, you'll have students read the MySci Physical Properties of Matter reading. For the Elaborate, you'll complete the summary chart discussion and use the Cake Baking Initial Model student journal page for students to create their models of the cake baking process. At this point, students should just label the properties of the materials and states of matter of the materials involved in baking a cake. You'll use the summary chart to draw a model of what students think happens to the ingredients as it turns into cake and return to this model throughout the unit. For the Evaluate portion, you'll have students work with a new partner to complete the Matter and its Properties student journal page. Students will use the materials from the Explore investigation to determine the properties of a material in the classroom. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient them back to the driving question board. Ask, what did we learn about what types of matter are involved in baking a cake? And what additional questions do you have now? By the end of this lesson, students will have made observations of the properties of a variety of materials and developed an initial model of how matter changes during the cake baking process. In Lesson 2, students will investigate how properties of matter can be used to identify ingredients. For the optional Extend, students can create and investigate oobleck and decide which states of matter in which it can be categorized based on its behavior. Students can watch Let's Make Oobleck from SciShow Kids. There are many great videos on the amazing properties of oobleck. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.